To illustrate the importance of area over discount in your property journey, I'm going to share with you a disaster story of what happens when you only focus on discount. So I started my property journey with no knowledge, and I was kind of making it up as I went along. Or a more accurate description was I ran from one crisis to another crisis to another crisis to another. And there was one crisis that cost me more sleepless nights than anything else. And it was the second property that I bought for myself. Okay. And this was in a part of Leeds called Chapeltown. When I started my property journey, I knew I wanted property to be an investment. I wanted it to be an investment. So I decided that I was going to think like an investor and only look at the numbers of the deal. That way I wouldn't let my heart hijack my decisions. The problem is I took this line of thought far too far, because it's a good line of thought, but I took it far too far. You know, I didn't even view the houses before buying them. So once you become an investor, it becomes all about the numbers. You know, what discount are you going to be getting on the property? What's the cash flow going to be? What's the capital growth going to be on this property? What's the demand? How many people are interested in renting this property? You see, I had a financial background. I was a financial manager for Marks and Spencer's. I was a mortgage broker after that, and at the time that I started investing. So I thought, you know what? I'm an investor. I know all about the numbers. How hard can this be? So I used my superior investment thinking on a house that was for sale in an auction. Now, the auction made it easy for me not to view their property because they had pictures of the house. So I looked at the numbers, I looked at the pictures in the brochure, and I made a simple decision. The guide price for this property was £20,000, and the rental income was £6,500 a year. Okay, the house was split into two flats. I was like, this is unbelievable. It's £20,000 to buy it, and it's £6,500 a year. That's a 30% return on investment. And now the house had two tenants living in it. One person lived upstairs, the other person lived downstairs. So I look at the pictures in the brochure, I check the tenancy agreements, it all looks like an amazing deal. I didn't even go to the auction. How much of an investor I wanted to be. I'm not going to travel to the auction and back. I'll bid on the phone. And I ended up buying this property for £21,000. The income's going to be £6,500 a year. This is a dream. I wanted as many of these dream properties as I could possibly get. This was number two. I wanted loads. So I bought this property in Chapeltown, and I lived about 70 miles away back then in Scarborough. So I wrote to the tenants. I explained that I was the new landlord and they needed to start paying the rent to me. Nothing happened. So I wrote to the tenants again. I didn't have their phone number, so I couldn't call them. Still no rent comes in. Eventually, I realized I'm going to have to go to the house and speak to the tenants. And I was busy in my job at the time, so I really didn't want to do this. I didn't want to have to go and drive over.